I've been asked to talk about how students can gain access to employers, really beyond academics. What do employers really want? I just want to talk to you a little bit about myself, really, because in some ways my career story will help, I hope, in some degree, people to understand how the Lord works in our lives to take us through our careers, and also help maybe in understanding how we can use the gifts that God's given us and the talents to get on within the work environment. I began my first job in a company called Sir William Halcrow and Partners, which was a civil engineering company. I joined at 18, straight from doing A-levels. And I began a job there, which I guess I took because it was something to do with IT and computers. And during the time there, I did a computing HNC. Now, that time that I spent at Sir William Halcrow's was an interesting time, but a very frustrating time for me, because really, within a 3-year period, not a lot happened in my work career. And yet, at the end of that period, I was able to get myself another job at a company called QA Training. And within 5 years of being at QA Training, I was appointed to the board as a director of the company. Now, why do I say that to you as we begin this session together? It's not because I want to try and blow my own trumpet, because in fact I think the story does exactly the opposite. It says you can be in one place and you can be the same person and yet your career doesn't progress, and yet in another place there is an environment and a place for you to develop your career and go where God wants you to go. For me, at Sir William Halcrow and Partners, I was the same person, the same character, with the same integrity, I hope. And yet, nothing really happened for me. And yet, at QA, within 5 years, I was able to develop my career to the point of being a director of the business. You see, our careers, it's not just about what we do, about our skills, about our capabilities, but it is about what God chooses to do with us. There are many verses in scriptures that point us to the fact that we can make our plans, and yet it's God that really determines the outcomes. And so as you begin to think about your career, and as you think about the kind of job that you might want to do, you need to bear that in mind. There will become times that will be frustrating to you as you seek to pursue opportunities that don't seem to open up. And yet there'll be other times when things will develop in such a way that you would have never expected them to develop before. You see, beyond academics, the first place we need to start is by acknowledging God's hand upon our life and desiring His direction and His purpose for us. And you see, as we do that, God will open and God will equally shut doors for us. So I hope as you are looking at your career, the first thing you are doing is praying about it and seeking God's hand in your life. Now, I left QA Training about 5-6 years ago, and I joined another smaller training company called Expertise Training, and I'm now their Learning Services Director. And some of the things I want to share with you this afternoon are some of the things that I've gained through my experiences both at Expertise and previous companies, and also with the companies that we work with. What kind of things are they looking for in the people that they want to employ? Well, to begin with, I want to highlight to you that each employer is different, and that will probably sound to you like a very obvious statement. But I wonder if you've really thought that through. Not all employers are the same. There are different vertical markets that they operate within. What do I mean by that? Well, some people work in the finance sector. Some people work in IT. Other people work in government organisations. And each of those vertical markets has different characteristics. It has different ways of dealing with its people. It has different career routes for the staff that work for them. Each employer has a different history. Some organisations have been going for many, many years, and they'll have a different way of approaching the recruitment and the training of their people. Other organisations maybe have just been around a few years, maybe more entrepreneurial in their style. I wonder what style is the kind of style that will fit you as a person. And then there's scale. Do you want to work for a multinational organisation where you'll be a small fish in a very, very large pond? Or do you want to work for a small organisation, maybe just 1 or 2 people, or maybe 10 or 20 people? Each of those organisations has different dynamics and different opportunities. The other thing you'll find about organisations is that the way that they recruit and they select their people is not the same. No two organisations will adopt the same approach to bringing people into their organisation, and that's something you need to be very aware of when you're looking for potential jobs. Some people tend to only recruit at the graduate end. Other people are looking for school leavers. Some organisations are looking for more ready-made people with experience and maturity. And of course that will sometimes depend on the role. But there is also the process that those organisations go through. Sometimes it's an incredibly formal process with lots of application forms to fill in, and they're looking for very prescriptive types of characters and skills. But other organisations are much more ad hoc in the way that they approach the interview and selection process. The other thing I want to highlight to you about employers is this. Each organisation has different beliefs and values. Now, as Christians, we have a set of beliefs and values that which are in God's Word, which we adhere to, which we believe. And yet in organisations which you may go to work in, you will also find either very explicit and direct sets of beliefs and values, or intrinsic beliefs and values that are within that culture. You need to find out something about the organisation before you go for interview or before you even put an application form in. Does it have the kind of beliefs and values that you can wholeheartedly support? Many organisations do. Many organisations value integrity and honesty and all those really positive things. But what is the real culture of that organisation? That's something for you to think through. Or some employers are willing to invest in developing staff. And they will take you on, and they will take the skills set that you have and be willing to move that on and develop you along a career path. Other organisations want their staff to hit the ground running with specific experience and specific skills and qualifications. Again, each organisation is different. Each employer is different. Get to know the kind of employer you want to work for and make those kind of choices before you begin your application process. Second thing is that each job is different. Again, I'm stating the obvious in many ways this afternoon. But for each role within an organisation, there will be a set of competencies that that role will require if it's going to be done effectively. Now again, some organisations will identify that and document that in a very kind of formal way so that you can clearly see what each of those competencies are. Other organisations work more on instinct, but when you're looking for someone for a particular role, there is a set of competencies that you require. And what do we mean by those? Well, there is a certain element of knowledge, set of knowledge, an understanding that's required, skill and experience. There will need to be an understanding of how that person relates to other people. If you're going to be someone who works on their own, then that needs to be something you enjoy and you're happy with. Other roles require you to mix with people all day. So how you relate to people is key. What motivates you? What drives you? What is your basic aptitude in terms of the core competences that you possess? And what is your underlying character? See, all these things add up to be a set of competences that define the kind of things that you will be good at. And an employer is looking for a role which will have a set of competences. So you need to understand that each job is different, and therefore there'll be a set of competences for this role that might fit you really well, whereas the competences for this role over here may not fit you well. I've got two examples on the screen. The competences to be a gardener, the competences to be a dentist. Two different roles. I think we understand those roles to be different. But I wonder for a few moments if you just think through the competences that are required in each of those different roles. Just some basic ones. A dentist has to enjoy being indoors most of the day, whereas a gardener needs to be willing to brave the elements and be outside. They're an outdoors person. There's something different about them. The dentist needs to be happy looking down people's mouths all day and looking at their teeth. Not the kind of thing that would appeal to me. And yet a gardener needs to be willing to put his back into the work and do what's necessary with a bit of spade work to get the job done. There are differences in the way that these different roles will work. Again, the dentist will be interacting with people all day. He has customers. He needs to keep them calm and happy and willing to go through with whatever operation he wants to do on them at the time. Whereas the gardener may spend much of his time alone. You see, each role has a set of competencies. Each job is different, and you need to understand what the competencies are for that role and how they fit your competencies. So my first point, which I've now ended, is this. Look for a job that fits your skills and characters. And look for an organisation that fits your values, your needs, and your aspirations. And the picture that we have here is someone trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You know, often we do that. Often we try to make things fit, and they're just never designed to fit. They're just never designed to work in that way. And God has made you, and God has made me in a certain way. He's given us different skills and attributes and characteristics. And He's given us different experiences in life to fit us for a particular purpose. And we believe that from a scriptural perspective for our roles within a church environment or in a Christian environment. And yet we should also understand that that's God's purposes for us in a work environment. God wants you to find a role and an organisation that's going to fit you. So look for a job that fits your skills and character. Look for an organisation that fits your values, needs, and your aspirations. So we move on to the second point. One of the things I did was really look at what do organisations want in people beyond the basic academic qualifications. I think those things are quite obvious. You can see what they require from an academic perspective. And it's interesting the kind of feedback you get when I speak to people in my role, but also if you just do some internet searches, which you could do for yourself. UK Answers on Yahoo said, what are the kind of things that employers are looking for? Well, people who think for themselves, people who work well with others, people who provide solutions rather than just simply problems or raise complaints, people who are smart and capable, people who are willing to work hard and progress. Interesting, isn't it? None of those things actually relate to any kind of qualification or educational backgrounds. But, you know, those things are the things that are really important to employees. The King's School, Winchester, on their website, encourages their people. It says these are the employability skills. It says communication, use of number, i.e. being able to add up and use arithmetic, use of IT, improving one's own learning and performance, being willing to develop oneself, working with others again, and problem solving. You see, there's some common themes that come out across these and other organisations. So let me say to you, as well as finding the right role and the right employer, if you want to find yourself a job, if you want to get yourself into a career situation, then let me encourage you, as well as the academics, get some basic things in place to help your case. Some absolute basic things, and you don't really need me here to say this to you, to be honest. With a bit of thought you can think these things through for yourself, but it's amazing the number of people that don't. A couple of things that are important then for today's employers, and just highlight just a couple here for you. Ensure that you have at least basic IT literacy. You know, this is a prerequisite for almost any job today. You might even be working in a warehouse and you find yourself now with some kind of handheld device that you need to use. You need to be competent and able to understand the basics of IT, how it works, how it operates, and be comfortable with the basic systems like Microsoft Office, or if you're a Mac user, something like that. Whatever those basic systems are that employer will require to have, make sure that you've got those basic skills. And I think many schools today are focusing on that. And I would say that's absolutely essential for the world of employment today, that you have some basic IT literacy. Secondly, look for opportunities to practice and improve your communication skills. Again, another area that I think many Christian schools are really strong on is encouraging their people to get involved in communicating verbally and gaining the confidence to communicate their ideas and thoughts to other people. Look for those opportunities, but not just verbal, written. You know, one of the biggest gripes today is that there are managers who cannot communicate in written formats. So reports are poor, proposals are poor. It's a real struggle in today's world of employment. So look for opportunities to practice and improve your communication skills so you can show that you have those to an employer. Again, look for opportunities to demonstrate your ability to work in a team. And that doesn't have to be in a work environment. Employers are interested to hear about the stuff you're doing outside of work. You know, many of you will be involved in team activities in church or in school. There may be opportunities for you to take the lead. Look for these opportunities to gain that practical experience of working in a team and understanding the dynamics of different characteristics, different capabilities. And again, if you have the basic understanding of the church, which the Bible describes as a body, with different parts all doing different things, you'll be much further on your way of understanding how we should all interact and work together as a team than many people who are not Christians and don't have that kind of foundation understanding of team. Essentially, the church is a great team. It should be the very best of teams. And therefore, you should have a great understanding about what teamwork is about. And the other really basic thing that I guess I want you to pick up on in terms of building on a few things to help your case is this: show some interest, some initiative and some enthusiasm. Interest, initiative and enthusiasm. One of our biggest problems in my organisation is that quite often people don't even turn up for the interview. Quite simply, don't turn up. So you're going to have a head start if you're actually there on the day. But when you are there, show some interest in the organisation. Make sure you've done the preparation so that you understand what the organisation does. The number of times I've said to someone, great, you've come for an interview today, that's great to see you. Why do you want to work for Expertise? And they have no clue even what we do. Show some interest. Show some initiative, find out about the company, find out about their history, how they're developing, where they're hoping to go. Show some enthusiasm for being part of that organisation. And I say to you, that will go a long, long way with the person that's interviewing you. So those are some basic things to help you build your case. Get the basics in place to ensure that an employer sees you as an asset. Be positive, show interest and enthusiasm. And I've got a nice proverb there for you. Proverbs 19. Slothfulness casts one into a deep sleep, and an idle person will suffer hunger. I hope that none of you are going to suffer hunger simply because you didn't turn up for a job interview. There are some basic things beyond academics that you can put in place that really will set you ahead of other people out there in the world of employment. But then the final point is this: character. Character. This I've put in this slide is the hidden essential. Why have I said that? Well, it's not really likely to be something that your employer is actually going to measure. It's not going to have a list of character traits that he or she is kind of expecting. Nevertheless, it will be very important to them. Why is character important, this hidden essential? Well, character, as we understand as Christians, and it is absolutely quite clear in the workplace as well, character really is the basic raw material. It's from that character that you can develop the skills and the competences. But if you haven't got the basic character, you haven't got the foundation in place. Character determines not just whether you can do the job, but how you will do the job. Character impacts how you'll fit into the team. Character impacts things like stickability. Will you be there in a few years' time when things have been difficult or things have been hard? Will you stick to the task in hand? And really, in many ways, character is the ultimate measure of your usefulness to that organisation. Character shows that organisation just how trustworthy or not you are. Again, a proverb, 23 verse 7, says, "For as he thinks in his heart, so he is." As a man thinks in his heart, so he is. And that's true. As we think in our heart, as our character is, so are we. And our character really is the hidden essential that determines what we'll be like in the work environment. It's interesting, again, just a search on the web shows this. Madison College of Engineering. It gave a list of 28 requirements for people in terms of employability. And 16 of those really whilst they might be down as competencies, they really relate to character, honesty, integrity, interpersonal skills, motivation, strong work ethic, detail orientated. Detail orientated, well, is that a skill or is that part of character, being willing to make sure things are right? Friendly, tactful, well-mannered, sense of humour. All these things are part of our character and are really part of what should be our Christian character. And that's what I want to put across to you. There's one thing you take away from today is this, is that the Christian has an advantage in the workplace. There will be times when it may seem that we're disadvantaged. It may seem that people ostracise us or put us down because of what we believe. But in terms of our role and our employability, the Christian, if they're walking with God, if they're applying the principles of His Word to their life, should have many advantages in this area of character. I've just named a few for you this afternoon. Integrity. What does that say to an employer? If someone is known for their integrity, I can trust that person. What does that mean? That means I can give them responsibility. It means I know I can give them a job and they will get it done. And if they've got problems getting it done, they'll come and tell me about it. They won't just let me down. Imagine if you're employing someone, how much that is worth to you. To have someone who has integrity, which means you can trust them. Love for others. That's to be one of our key Christian characteristics, isn't it? Love for other people. But what does that mean? That means we can work with other people. It means we can work as a team. It means we respect other people's gifts and abilities without being jealous. It means we can put up with people who are a bit awkward and a bit funny. We love them as people, and therefore we can work as a team with them. Huge value. That's already come up in these slides that we've covered together. Ability to work with other people. What about the instruction that we're given as Christians to work and to do everything as to the Lord? What difference does that make to an employer? Well, that positive work ethic counts for a lot, doesn't it, for an employer? To know that somebody is really wanting to do a good job, not just because I'm paying them to do that, but there's something deeper that motivates them to do a really good job for me. Maybe they'll ask you questions as to what that is, and I hope they do, and I hope there'll be opportunities for you to witness in the workplace. But that's a great Christian characteristic that will give you advantage in the workplace. Patience. Well, that means you'll be willing to learn. It means you'll be willing to put up with difficulties. When things are a struggle or they're hard to grasp, you'll stick with them and work through them. Joy. Well, joy is one of those things, isn't it, that we sometimes wonder what Paul means or Peter means when they talk about joy. It doesn't mean we're perpetually happy about everything, but there's that inner joy, isn't there, in us, that there's more to life than the things that are around about us. Much more. We have a relationship with God, we have our salvation secure, and therefore we have a sense of joy about us that should give us positiveness and flexibility and enthusiasm for the tasks that are ahead of us to do on a day-to-day basis. Servant leadership. We learn from Jesus Christ Himself in terms of how to lead other people. Huge value for an employer in terms of our ability to lead and coach and mentor and help other people. Jesus Himself, it was said, increased in wisdom and stature and in favour with God, but also with men. This is the Christian advantage within the workplace. You know, as we apply these characteristics to our lives, then people do notice, people do see, and it will help us in the workplace. But I also want to say to you, I guess, is actually getting into the workplace as well in the first place, isn't it? Well, in your CV, as you put your CV together, reference the kind of things that you're involved with in church. Reference the kind of things that you are involved with outside of church that demonstrate these kind of characteristics. And once you get to that interview process where you're actually in front of them, be yourself. You know, many people would try and sell themselves to be something they are not. But demonstrate your character, demonstrate your integrity in front of the person that's interviewing you. Be positive, be assertive, Be prepared to tell them about the skills and the capabilities you have and the experience that you have, but equally try to show as much of this